the next developer we're going to speak about is probably my favorite developer of all time. Now they don't make games quite the same way as they used to. Their last game was a game as a service game. Because of that, I never touched it. You can say I'm crazy. You can say whatever. Oh, I really can't deal with games of a service. I don't want to live in your game. I want to get on to the next game. I don't want to spend my lifetime playing your game.
Mm-hmm.
There's other stuff to do. So although I didn't play their most recent game, it's supposed to be excellent now. Had some mixed reviews in the beginning. That game I'm talking about was Sea of Thieves. The developer I'm talking about is Rare. And Rare goes back to me most fondly for the N64, but it originated with the NES.
Mm-hmm.
The first Rare game I played was either one of two. It was either Wizards and Warriors or Battletoads. I don't remember which one I played first, but I played the hell out of both of those games, and I love them very, very much.
See, I don't remember Wizards and Warriors. I remember Battletoads.
So, Wizards and Warriors was not a game that I owned. I thought it was kind of like a nerdy game, but I had a friend who had the game. He brought it to my house, and we played the hell out of that game. And that was the first time I remember like seeing Rare and kind of remembering who they were. And then I played like Battletoads
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. So Rare was really like the first name that I recognized with like, man, I like their games. If I see their games, I'm going to go after them. I'm going to play their games. And Wizards and Warriors was like Dungeons and Dragons basically, but you had like a knight, you had to get different power-ups and stuff. It was like not really an RPG. I guess it had some very, very like RPG elements, but it was more of an action game for sure.
Okay.
You had a health bar. The levels were, man, they were almost like, they weren't open world because you're scrolling, but it felt very, because you can go all over the place. You weren't like in one direction. You can go up, down, left, right.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of explore a little bit. And I love that about Wizards and Warriors.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I've seen it come in the store a couple times. I've never played it. Battletoads, definitely.
I mean, everybody loves Battletoads except for that damn bike level. What the hell was it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The turbo.
Yeah.
What the hell is it called? Turbo tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus God.
We talked about Treasure making hard games, man. Battletoads. I'd never beat Battletoads. It was so hard.
I never beat Battletoads. No way. I had fun playing it.
It was fun playing, exactly.
And shout out to Keen, who's a member of Nerd Enthusiast. Best pause music ever of all time.
Battletoads. And then we had Battletoads for Super Nintendo, also done by Rare, which was,
now that one I never played.
That was good. It still played like Battletoads, but because it was on the Super Nintendo, it looked a whole lot better. Your characters were bigger. It was very Final Fight-ish.
Did they have like the turbo tunnel kind of levels, or did they make it more of a platformer?
No, it was more of a platform, but that turbo tunnel, the riding the bikes was in it.
I wish it wasn't. I wish they just made a platformer. Like a beat 'em up platformer. That's all the game needed to be. They need to get rid of all that crap, and I would have been like so much better. I even played. Did you play the new one they made from like, I think it was a 2020 game on Xbox One?
I downloaded it and I never played it yet.
So the beat 'em up, the brawling is good, mm-hmm. But then they had that turbo tunnel stuff on it. It's a little easier. It's not as hard, but it's still like, I get it. You did it because it's Battletoads, but this is the worst part of Battletoads. Just do the brawler platformer stuff, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, no, I didn't play it. It's still sitting on my Xbox. I keep saying I am going to play it because it's a Rare game, so it's Battletoads. You have to play it.
You do.
Man, Rare. I'm just thinking, so many great titles Rare did. Rare is such beloved around the world, not just from us.
There's a reason Xbox paid a bunch of money to get them away from Nintendo.
Oh, for real.
That's because of the quality of the games that they make.
And then we had Banjo Kazooie.
So, a quick story with Banjo Kazooie. At the time the N64 was out, you could subscribe to some sort of letter, And this is like when the internet is like very early on. Nobody's watching videos of the internet. The bandwidth was not there. If you subscribe to a certain thing with Nintendo, they would send you VHS tapes to market their games. And I got one. Every time they sent me one of these, I was suckered right in. I bought right into it. And it didn't matter what Nintendo sent me. I got one for Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball on N64. Watched that tape. I bought Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball. I got one for Banjo Kazooie, and I remember looking at it. I was like, "What the hell is this?" It's like, why is Nintendo sending me this? I watched the video. By the end of the video, I was like, "Oh my god, I need to get Banjo Kazooie," and it never let me down. That's probably my favorite Rare game. That or a few other ones we'll get into.
Banjo Kazooie. It was fun. It was fun. It was colorful. It played good. Is what you would expect coming from Rare.
If you have OCD and you like collecting things, this is the place to be. Tons of collect feathers, notes, all sorts of stuff in that game.
Now, once Microsoft acquired Rare and then Banjo came out on Microsoft's system, do you think it still held up the same or different?
Talking about nuts and bolts?
Yeah.
Nuts and bolts? No.
It wasn't the same. I thought so too.
No.
It's just, I mean, it was good to see the character.
They did this thing. They were playing into like, oh, let's make it more of like an open world. Like, no, dude, just make. I don't need you to build cars. I need you to make Banjo Kazooie 3, Banjo 3E. That's what I need you to make. Stop trying to do all this other stuff. Do what you're good at. That's what I want you to do.
Did you like Banjo and Tooie, the second one?
Not as much as the first one, but it was good.
I agree with that.
I think they tried to probably turn it around too quickly. It was even. I feel like there was even more stuff to collect in that game, which at some point it gets out of control. I felt that way a little bit about Tooie, but no, the nuts and bolts one was not great. It's not what Banjo Kazooie is to me.
I agree.
But Rare also made probably. They made a game that is very controversial called Donkey Kong 64. Some people, there's a sect of people who absolutely love this game and a sect of people who hate it. I beat Donkey Kong 64. I enjoyed my time with it. I don't understand the hate. Yes, it's a collectathon, but at the time, that's kind of what Rare was doing. Have you played DK64?
I did.
What did you think?
It was okay. A lot of people bought Donkey Kong 64 expecting Donkey Kong Country. Like a nicer, powerful version of the Super Nintendo version of Donkey Kong. But Donkey Kong Country was great.
I mean,
man,
another Rare game. I mean, this for SNES, this brought the SNES to like a whole nother level. It was like, oh, you think Genesis has great graphics? Look at this.
Yes, look at this.
Some people don't like that aesthetic. At the time, it was like, how are you doing this? How are you doing this on a Super Nintendo?
Yep. Oh man.
And the gameplay was great.
It was great. So good. So fast forward until, the 64 era, and then we get Donkey Kong 64. I think a lot of people were expecting to relive that Donkey Kong Country Super Nintendo game and got something different. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all, but
this goes back to what we were talking about. Everything had to be 3D. Oh, you made Donkey Kong Country. It was really successful. Cool. Make it in 3D. I'm sure that was the direction Nintendo gave Rare. Not to, not that they control everything, but they're like, listen, we have this machine. 3D is the thing. That's what we want you to make. And it was a good game, but it wasn't Donkey Kong Country. That's for sure.
No, that's for sure.
During the SNES era, they also made another game that you are really familiar with. I've played it, back and forth off and on a little bit, but you're Mr. Fighting Game fan. Which game did they make for SNES that you love?
Killer Instinct. Anybody that has listened to us or has watched our video know how I feel about Killer Instinct. Man, when I saw Killer Instinct in the arcade, I was hooked. We got it for Super Nintendo. I loved it. Then we got it for 64. Man, I can't.
What did you think about the 64 one compared to the Super Nintendo one?
back then when the Super Nintendo version came out, it was the best thing ever. It was as close as we're going to get to the arcade, and I'm like, man, this is great. And we got the soundtrack too. I was like, man, this is good. It's like
Absolutely.
I'm playing one of my favorite games at home. Loved it. They kept all the combos in there, the ultra combos, the sound effects, everything. Graphically, it suffered, of course. And then we got the 64 version, and the 64 version was as close to the arcade as you can get. It was running off the same hardware.
Now, I never played the 64 version. Was this 2D or 3D at the time? I'm guessing it's 3D, but you tell me.
It was 2D with 3D backgrounds. So they still looked like, if you remember Killer Instinct, they had that 3D modeled look
Right.
on top of the background. So it was
But it was a 2D plane.
It was a 2D plane. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. I mean, that sounds great. That's how all fighting games should have been.
Man.
I remember playing like Mortal Kombat in 3D, and you like move your character like forward and back. I'm like, what the hell is all this? Is too much.
I wasn't feeling Mortal Kombat in 3D.
Mm-mm.
It
had to be 2D.
Same. Wasn't the same.
Well, look at it now. They learned from their mistakes. They're all 2D now. They're
2D now.
2D planes and like 3D backgrounds.
Yep.
That's all it is.
That's all it is. But Killer Instinct, man, I can't speak enough about Killer Instinct. And then after all these years of asking, Microsoft gave me my new Killer Instinct that has Battletoads in it. It's got, as far as a hidden character.
Now, this was an Xbox One game. Do you know if that version was developed by Rare or was that somebody else?
It was made by another company called Helix.
Gotcha. Kind of like what they did with Battletoads.
Yeah, I think it was
Battletoads wasn't made by Rare, but Rare was like involved in some way.
Correct, because it's their property.
Right. They probably just oversaw like they probably just were like, yeah, that's good, keep doing that, or change this or something like that.
Yeah, I just wish we got more Killer Instinct. It's we get a Killer Instinct and then it disappears for 10 years, and I got to continually ask about it. 10 years later, I'll get a new one. It's not like Mortal Kombat.
I mean, rumor has it that they're working on one, but nobody knows of the studio or anything yet. But there is a rumor that there's a new Killer Instinct on the way.
Eventually.
Sure.
At some point.
10 more years, Wes.
Exactly. 10 more years of me asking, where's my Killer Instinct?
I do need to give a shout out to some of Rare's racing games real briefly, too. Diddy Kong Racing was like, sort of like a cool, we made Mario Kart, it did really well. Let's make another Mario Kart, but with Diddy Kong and Donkey Kong and those characters. And only those used boats, planes, and cars. And it was a really good racing game at the time. Did you play Diddy Kong at all?
I did. It was Mario Kart. It was a different version of Mario Kart with different characters.
Now, I think the people who think that Diddy Kong is better than Mario Kart are insane. I think you're nuts. I think Diddy Kong's a good game. It's not on the same level as Mario Kart, in my opinion.
No, it's not. But it had that Mario Kart feel to it.
Now, Rare's first racing game that I'm familiar with is called RC ProAm. And I love RC ProAm. Specifically on Genesis, they made Championship ProAm, which is my favorite version of the game. And this was like Mario Kart before Mario Kart. Did you ever check any of the ProAm games out?
I never. I saw them. Never played them, never owned them.
They're so much fun. Like you're controlling like a little RC car. So like it's completely unrealistic the way you're driving. Like it's a very arcade style racing game. But you get weapons and like power-ups and stuff. You can like tune up your engine if you collect enough parts and things like that. The game is awesome, Wes. You need to go back and check it out. Any version is good, but that Championship Pro on the Genesis is something special.
Top notch. Okay, I'll check it out.
We are going to get into the heavy hitters. I'm sure you guys are like, why haven't you talked about Rare's heavy hitters? We're going to get there in a second. I just want to give a shout out to the 360 titles. There was a Sea of Thieves game, like I mentioned earlier, which is popular with certain people. You never played that either, I'm guessing, right?
Nope, did not.
But one game I did play, Sea of Thieves was Xbox One era. Cameo, Elements of Power, and Viva Pinata were 360 era. And their games were fantastic. I played Viva Pinata a hell of a lot. But Cameo has one of the worst intros in any game. It's probably like a solid hour of you like going through this tutorial, and it's awful. But as soon as you get out of that tutorial, it's fantastic.
Cameo was good. Cameo was a launch title, and I remember playing it. It was like, okay, this is not bad. And Viva Pinata was just different.
All right, guys. So you might know we're wearing different clothes. It's actually a completely different day. Wes is not in the store. We had some pretty messed up technical difficulties that had to have us stop the show and like record another day. So we're back at it. We last talked about Cameo and Viva Pinata very briefly. We're just gonna leave that there. Those are some games you should definitely check out on 360. But the next set of games we're gonna talk about is like peak rare, in my opinion.
Definitely peak rare.
And this, of course, is their shooters, which is GoldenEye and Perfect Dark.
Perfect Dark.
Which do you prefer, out of curiosity?
Well, I would prefer GoldenEye, but Perfect Dark is really good as well. I think my problem, and it's not even a problem with Perfect Dark, is everybody was coming off of GoldenEye, and when they announced Perfect Dark, everybody assumed we were going to get another GoldenEye, and we got something a little different.
I think that was the problem I had with it. There was like aliens and stuff in the game. The weapons were a bit more over the top and not realistic. Not to say that GoldenEye is like the most realistic first person shooter, but they had like realistic weapons. They had like an
Right.
AK. They had like pistols and stuff. Mines. Like they didn't have like a laptop gun. Stuff like that was in Perfect Dark. No, not that that was a bad game. Like I said, it's just really different.
It was
And
different.
I like that real feel that GoldenEye had. Plus, I think it was James Bond, and like Pierce Brosnan was an awesome James Bond. And like, I don't know, man. I prefer GoldenEye personally, but I'm not saying Perfect Dark's a bad game. It was just different. But it was still the gameplay was still there.
Oh, the gameplay was still perfect. It was still fun to play. The story was good. She was still a spy, but it just paled in comparison to GoldenEye, and that's what we were used to.
Yeah, I mean, the levels of GoldenEye were just so iconic too. Like if you guys go back and watch the story of GoldenEye, it was like slapped together like super fast, and like it's unbelievable that the game turned out the way that it did. Like truly unbelievable. And it's I can't even tell you how much time I sunk into that game. There were two different moments in my life. It was once when the game came out. I probably played that game for like 3 years or something, like
Mm-hmm.
nonstop. Playing multiplayer with friends and just 100%ing like everything in the game. And then later on in college, I went back and got a 64 again in GoldenEye, and just went through all that stuff again. I had my originals, but like I didn't bring
Uh-huh.
them to college. Like when I worked there at the store with you, when we both
Right.
worked at EB, I picked up another N64. Then I was probably like $30 for an N64 and like $5 for a copy of GoldenEye.
Yep.
And that was like
Yep.
all. I don't even think I bought any other games. I was like, yeah, just give me this. This is this is all I need. And we played that, till 4 o'clock in the morning many nights.
Well, what did you think of Perfect Dark on 360? Because that was a launch title.
I think people were too harsh on it. That's what I think. I actually enjoyed that game. I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it
Mm-hmm.
was as good as the first Perfect Dark, but the hate that was going at it, like I think there was better multiplayer games out at the time, and I think that's really what people were raking it over the coals were, for was
Mm-hmm.
the. But I still enjoyed that multiplayer. I had a good time with Perfect Dark. Granted, it was a launch game, and you can say there wasn't a ton to play at that time, but I feel like people don't give that game the credit it deserves.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Hopefully, rumor has it, if they're true, we're getting another Perfect Dark.
Oh, it's true.
So I'm curious to see what that one's going to turn out like.
I had super high hopes for this, and I just became worried about it probably a few months ago because Xbox announced that they're bringing in Crystal Dynamics, which is not
Mm,
a team that they own
right.
to work on the game, which is like weird. Like you guys made the initiative is the name of the studio that's supposed to be producing it, and this is supposed to be their big, you know, this is like their top, like their marquee studio that's built from the ground up, and they're built to make Perfect Dark as their first game. And then a few years into the project, they're like, oh yeah, Crystal Dynamics is going to help us with it. It's like, well, what happened? What do you mean? What are you talking about? So we're probably not going to see this game for like another 3 or 4 years, is my guess.
Yeah, I mean, Crystal Dynamics has been around a long time. I mean, are they going to make our list? Maybe not. Not this time. But they had
I like a lot
some
of their games. I
exactly.
do.
They were good. So I mean, I will put my faith in Crystal Dynamics that they're going to do it justice.
But you
We'll see.
understand my concern, though, right? Like,
Oh, of
what
course.
do you mean you get another team? Like, what? What are you talking about, man? I feel like a Naughty Dog was like, listen, this new Last of Us Part 3, we're bringing in Crystal Dynamics to help. Everybody was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean?
Yeah.
So I have a lot of concerns, but
Okay.
we'll see.
We'll see.
All right, so Perfect Dark GoldenEye definitely up there on Rare's list. Now there's one final title. This was a late release on N64. And I think that because it was a late release is why this game is actually pretty valuable now. Probably one of the more expensive N64 games. And that is Conker's Bad Fur Day.
I can't help but laugh every time we talk about Conquer.
Dude, that game was so awesome.
It was over the top, man.
You start out drunk and have a hangover in the beginning of the game. This little squirrel that looks all like cute and furry, like he gets wasted and he's cursing all the time.
All the time. Like I said, we talk about Conquer, and I just can't help but to like laugh. That game was so much fun, and to believe it came out on a Nintendo system. What?
Yo, that goes to show you, Rare had so much good faith with Nintendo. They were like, do whatever you want. We don't care. You know what I mean? Because all those bangers on N64, 75% of them were from Rare.
Yep. All the sexual innuendo in a Nintendo game. I was like, oh my god, what are we playing? But we couldn't stop playing it.
I'm curious. I don't know when I think this was before. It was before I started working in the video game stores at that time. Did you have any parents come back and like try to return the game because they didn't understand that it was like a mature game?
I don't think we had too many, only because it did have the mature rating on it. If I'm not mistaken, it wanted to say it had adults only.
No, it's M.
It was M? Okay.
Yeah.
But we made sure we told parents, hey, this is an adult game. It's mature. This is what's in it. But it's just like Grand Theft Auto. Little Johnny was like, Mom, buy me this. Parents don't know what they're buying. We try to tell them. It's up to them. So, no, we didn't have too many returns because we made sure the parents knew exactly what was in that game.
That's smart. But, of course, I don't know how it was back then, but like later on, during EB games and like GameStop and stuff, they like mandated you needed to check if they're, you can get fired. You would literally get fired if you sold a game to a minor.
Yep, you had to check for ID.
Yep. And now I feel like nobody cares anymore. Like that's almost like out the window. And I think the reason for that is because they're like you just download games now. So right. I feel like they're like, well, whatever. Every time a little kid comes in there and they're like, oh, let me get Grand Theft Auto. I'm like, nah, you can't buy Grand Theft Auto. All right, cool. Let me get a PlayStation Network card. Oh, all right. What are they going to use that for?
Exactly.
Like, come on, man. It's so stupid now. But anyway, those are some of the top games from Rare. Rare's probably my favorite developer. If not, they're certainly up there. There's a lot of Nintendo love for favorite developers for me.
Yeah, Rare is definitely up there on my list as well.